States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let the record show all members are present.
Scott, I'll move the consent agenda for you.
Second.
Motion by Supervisor Whitman. Supervisor Shea, consent agenda. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign. Hearing none, motion passes. Next up, we have Matt White, Director, Planning and Zoning, and Pam Hallstrip, Acting Director, public hearing on the proposed development agreement with JJHP LLC, and discussion and/or decision to approve and authorize the board to sign Resolution 102-2021 entitled Resolution Approving Development Agreement with JJHP LLC, authorizing tax increment payments and pledging certain tax increment revenues to the payment of the agreement.
I'll open public hearing.
Second.
Thank you. Okay, public hearing open. Those, anyone speaking in favor?
Just do a roll call.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you, Matt. Roll call.
Chairman Belt.
Aye.
Supervisors Wickman.
Aye.
Groby.
Aye.
Schultz.
Aye.
Shea.
Aye.
Okay, anyone speaking in favor? Mark, you want to speak?
Sure. Mark Hanwright, 23974 Pioneer Trail. Part of the project here with Heartland Properties. I think we've discussed it in depth in other meetings, but happy to answer any questions that the board may have.
I'll ask a couple questions after the public hearing's over.
Anyone else speaking in favor? Anybody speaking opposed?
I'll move to close public hearing.
Second.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Second, I got Shay. Roll call.
Supervisor Belt.
Aye.
Shea.
Aye.
Groby.
Aye.
Wickman.
Aye.
Schultz.
Aye.
Okay, now we need a motion and a second to approve and authorize the board to sign resolution number 102-2021 entitled Resolution Approving Development Agreement with JJHP LLC, authorizing tax increment financing and pledging certain tax increment revenues to the payment of the agreement.
I'll make the motion to approve. I'll second.
Thank you. Discussion?
John, this is the first time I've seen this. I think when we did the bent tree, didn't you pledge that if the project didn't get built out, you personally covered the TIF?
Pardon?
You personally covered the TIF if the project didn't develop out?
On the water mains.
Yeah. Okay. And then the Armstrong project, we did the same thing, right? That, Jason, on this one, it's different. This is gonna be an 11-year TIF, right?
Yes.
That plan, and the dollar amount's $4 million. So in 11 years, if the development doesn't progress to the point where it covers the TIF, it's my understanding they're just out those funds. Is that how that works?
I think one of the major differences between this and the Bentry project is that the county was fronting the money for the water line in that case. In this case, the developer's incurring all that upfront costs, and the TIF is just reimbursement. So that's why there's no pledge to cover, because we are already personally incurring those costs.
And you feel confident in the 11 years of the TIF that you'll?
We do, and to be clear, it's 11 years per phase. The development agreement allows for the lots to be entered in 4 phases as they get built out.
Where does that say that at, Pat?
Was that where it's the payments and are to June 2046. First phase and then
Number 4 of the agreement addresses the phases.
twenty 2027, 2025.
I got you. I'm with you now, Mark. I see that under, section 2. It's the second to the last paragraph in section 2.
Yeah.
See that, that's where that's at. Okay, Mark, thanks for that clarification. Okay, that's all I have.
And you saw that they changed the dates and years on the agreement.
Yes, that's something we had discussed on a previous call, and so this
Okay.
is the revised agreement based on those conversations.
Any other discussion? Hearing none. Roll call.
Chairman Belt,
Aye.
Supervisors Wickman,
Aye.
Groby,
Aye.
Schultz,
Aye.
Shay.
Aye.
Before we leave this topic, Scott, hey, Pam, do you know where we're at as far as the water line for that project?
I haven't spoken to Nick recently, but
Could you give the board an update on that, please? Thanks.
Sure.
Okay, that's it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
This is Amy Bjork, bond counsel. Do you need me to stick around or questions? Is that it?
Amy's with, you're with who, Amy?
She's with Dorsey Whitney, the
Oh,
attorney.
Dorsey. Dorsey Whitney? Are we,
Do you guys have any questions for the attorney who did the developers agreement? Do you guys all have any questions for her?
I don't.
No, I think we're good. I think we're okay.
Excellent.
okay, thanks.
thanks, Amy.
Thanks, Amy.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks, you guys.
Mark, John, thanks.
Should have asked her who was paying the bill.
Hopefully they are.
Next up, thank you, guys.
Okay, thank you.
Next up, we have Becky Lenahan, Finance and Tax Officer, public hearing on Potawatomi County Amendment to current budget for fiscal year 2021-22, and discussion and/or decision to approve and authorize the board to sign resolution 103-2021, a resolution to approve Potawatomi County's amendment to the current budget for 2021-22.
So moved. I'll second.
Let's open the public hearing.
Yes.
Okay. Roll call.
Supervisor Belt,
Aye.
Wickman, Groby,
Aye.
Schultz,
Aye.
Shay.
Aye.
Okay. Anyone speaking in favor? Anyone speaking opposed? Hearing none. You want to,
Motion to close public hearing.
okay,
Second.
roll call?
Chairman Belt,
Aye.
Supervisor Wickman,
Aye.
Groby,
Aye.
Schultz, Shay.
Okay, then I need a motion and a second to approve resolution number 103-2021, a resolution to approve Potawatomi County's amendment to the current county budget fiscal year 2021-2022.
So moved. Second.
Okay, you want to give us the highlights on that?
Sure, and the amendment is basically taking into account the bond proceeds that we've received from the last few bonds, getting them put in the right budget line. Obviously, this kind of aligns with the capital plan that we previously approved as well. One thing you'd notice in there too, this is basically amending for expenditures. It's not really amending a whole lot for the revenues. We have the bond revenues in there, but like the ARPA ones aren't in there, correct?
ARPA's not in there, no.
So there's still those funds, that we have half of those in, the other half coming in, which should still be in this fiscal year in May.
Will we have to amend for them?
We don't have to amend for revenues.
Okay.
We have to amend for expenditures. So
Right.
this is just, record keeping here. We're kind of thinking March would probably be the next one if we have to do
We
another
usually do
amendment.
another one in March, right around the budget time.
So
Okay.
kind of where things stand, so.
Mitch, on this, it says that necessary expenses incurred in some county departments causing the department to exceed 100% of its costs. What are those departments? I think that's pretty bland. Some departments, that doesn't include HR, does it?
I don't believe so.
Okay, well, I mean, it doesn't exclude them, does it?
No, which line are you referring to on there? Tim?
The first one on resolution 103-2021.
But at least some of it was with roads money coming in, so they had to, with low Balkan sales tax revenue, that would be one of them that we'd be thinking of. I can't think of any other departments offhand, can you?
Would it be better?
Most of them are bonds, which is non-departmental. The other one would be the Board of Supervisors and roads.
I think those should be identified, don't you, or not?
In the resolution?
Yes. I mean, I don't want to give Jana's HR department is some county departments, I don't want to give her any more money.
Yeah, but. I just think if it ends up being specific to a department, and some line's gonna run over, I think we end up having a ton of budget amendments throughout the year instead of just a couple. And I can definitely give you a report of which ones are over and why we're doing certain things at different times if you'd like.
Well, the public hearing is over, right?
Yep.
Can I ask the board to consider getting this thing revised a little bit? Narrow it down some so it's not all departments?
I mean, you just want it to be listed of what those?
I do, I would.
I mean, is this a hot button, need to get it done right now?
To have the budget
Like if you
amendment
wait a
done.
week and get us the list, is that a big deal for your timelines?
Before I did the amendment.
Yeah.
When's it gotta be in by?
Well, today's the hearing on it and it's been published, so I don't know if we can wait for a week or not.
Well, do we have to do a second hearing on this one though? Or is this just, you can prove it after
This is just it. Yeah.
I mean, to answer your question, no, it doesn't bother me if we want to list out who the specific folks are. I mean, I don't, it's up to you guys, I don't care.
Well, it sounds like you pretty much gave us the ones.
Yeah, supervisors, one and roads.
That's not in the resolution, Scott.
Right, no, I understand that. But it says that the supervisors desire to allow these expenditures, no tax increase will occur due to these expenditures.
So I think it needs to be revised, but that's just me. So
I'm okay waiting a week. If you guys want to just postpone this, get the details that we need to get, flush them out. I don't think a week's gonna kill you. I mean, I get it, but government's always slow.
Be more specific.
Okay.
Okay, so then, the resolution will have to be published again and such.
We'll have to do another public hearing too, I suppose.
That'll move us into October, right? If we redo that.
You have to republish it. Mhm.
What date would that be, like the 12th or the 19th?
Has to be published at least 10, not more than 20 days prior to the public hearing.
So if we done it today, we
Get
could
it to the-
get it done on the 5th?
No, probably not until the 12th,
Okay.
because those
Outer papers.
county papers only publish once a week.
Okay, for the sake of not making this awkward, what do you guys wanna do? Like, do you wanna just move this, or do you wanna wait? I don't really care.
We can, going forward, we can make them a little more specific if you would like.
I think we'd feel a little better with that.
I would suggest maybe moving forward with this one, just so we can make the transfers needed to make just pay some of the bills that we're gonna have coming due with some of these other things, and some of the bond monies we'd like to spend.
We haven't spent them yet though, have we?
No. But we've obligated them, so when the bills come in, they'll have to be spent.
What's it take to amend a resolution, Becky?
To amend the resolution?
Yeah.
I'm not clear on that. Couldn't give you an answer.
We should be able to just amend this resolution by posting it and similar to the,
Just amend the resolution for next week.
well, I think you still got some publication requirements, I'm guessing.
I'll check into it, yeah. If you don't want to pass it today.
Well, I think even if we pass it, we can amend it.
Amend the resolution?
Yeah.
Tim, I guess the only thing is there, not necessarily Tim, for the group, I mean, are we concerned there's something we need to kill in this right now? If there is something in there we don't like, or is it, I guess, does it matter if it's specifically listed out or not in the grand scheme of things?
Well, I think that, I just think that some departments is too bland. If we do budget amendments all the time at the end of the year. I don't know what the urgency is on this one to do it today. I just think it's too bland. Some county departments, which county departments? That's all.
I motion we table this. Motion to table this till next week, get it figured out.
I'll second it.
Okay.
So we had a motion by Shea and Schultz to approve the resolution. Are you,
I'll withdraw.
you're
I'll
withdrawing your
withdraw my
motion?
motion, and I'll make the motion that we table this for 1 week. And then, as long as you're okay with it.
Yep.
Wait a second.
We got a motion to table by Schultz and seconded by Grovey. Any other discussion?
Yeah, the only discussion I'd want to make is just make sure, because I know you two put a lot of work into this, it's not like it just fell out of the sky. I just, as board members, I think we need to make sure we let them know what our expectations are so that we don't get to this point again. I don't think it's a big deal, just let them know what you want in these things and we'll move forward.
Well,
You just want the departments listed?
Yeah, because I think.
they won't be listed in this form that you put for a public hearing, right? Because this is a form.
No, it goes by service areas.
You gotta follow the state form for the publication, right?
Yeah, there's nothing that says anything about departments in the actual amendment.
Right. So that department piece would just go in the resolution? Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
I guess what the question I asked Tim earlier really was alluding to the fact that if there was something specifically listed into it, would that make it so that maybe we didn't want to pass the resolution? So that's kind of why I think I don't want to discount what he's asking for, because I think
Right.
if there's something in there that we're not really in favor of, we need to relook at, I don't want to just pass the resolution and pass it. So I just think let's just table this thing, figure out these details, and come back. It's better we all know what's going on than not.
That we republish, correct?
Yeah, I mean, it's gonna be a pain in the neck to start the process, but it's fine.
We're gonna have enough time, bill paying time?
The publication really won't change, will it? Just the resolution's gonna change, right?
Right.
I'm not clear if you have to republish it or not.
I mean, the figures are gonna stay the same in the state sheet.
Unless you want amounts changed in here.
We got 30 days.
So, this is not a roll call vote for the motion's table.
No, I don't think so.
So the motion is to table, resolution 103-2021. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign, hearing none, motion passes. Okay. Next up, we have Lee Voss, County Treasurer, discussion and/or decision to approve tax abatement for, is it Mertru Medical Center for property located at 510 North Elm Street, Avoca, parcel number 773-909-332-009.
I'll move that for you.
I'll second.
Comes up every year. I wish
Yeah, it
there was-
does.
I wish there was a way we could get rid of it. I think the only way we get rid of it is they apply, right? Don't they have to apply for an abatement?
That would be through the assessors, but they have a certain requirement that they keep following that they put this on. So I don't know if you can help them along.
I'll talk to Patty, you know, I've talked to her about,
Since 1994, it's been here.
yeah.
What's it called? It's worked on it, way back. Maggie tried to get that resolved many, many years ago, and it was not successful. They couldn't get them to comply.
They wouldn't fill out the required forms.
Right. I don't know who that was per se, but I would have to.
Sure, the people have changed.
Yeah. You had some questions, I thought, in regards to that. Did you get those answered pretty much?
Yeah, I did, thank you.
Okay, thanks, Lee. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign. Hearing none, motion passes. Okay, now we have Tom Emmett, Executive Director, Historic General Dodge House, discussion and decision to approve funding request for $1,000 for the Bersham Porch Replacement Project. Tom, how are you?
I'm well. How are you this morning?
Good, thanks. Appreciate you filling out the form and getting us all that information for that, so.
The value is if we're funded by both the city and county, we can apply for CAT grants, which are generally offered quarterly by Enhance Iowa. So that's where the value is.
Motion by Shay.
I'll second it for discussion. I have one question though.
Second
So
by
is this request matching what the city's doing?
The
No, the
city,
city does a lot more.
the city,
How much more?
75,000
Okay.
on
And then
an
this,
annual basis.
gotcha.
I talked to the mayor.
And I have a letter of support from Mayor Walsh for this.
Yeah, no, I think every one of us up here agrees it's a good thing. I'm just curious if you're able to cover the cost you need, this is the bottom line.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
We're gonna be fine. It's about a $100,000 project. We have most of it. And again, the value in this is going forward for at least a year. I can apply for CAT grants for other projects as well.
I guess I'd just ask you if you fall short, come back to the board. Because, I mean, we have the ability to help do these things too. And I think, especially this particular site, I mean, this is huge for this community and it's obviously like a landmark that puts our city on the map. So I don't want to see any of these projects fail. So if you don't come up with the money you need, I would ask, come back to us.
You betcha. And I think I will come back later on in the year and demonstrate the economic impact of the Dodge House. We've been calculating that with Mark Ekman's help. And so I'll be interested in having ongoing conversations as appropriate.
Did you, and you filled out the form that Mitch had sent you and for the request. Did you find that cumbersome or?
No, it's a relief compared to the stuff you gotta do for a lot of grants.
Okay,
practically gonna cut off an arm for a federal grant.
And how much cap money think you're gonna apply for?
You know, cap money is usually the last money in after you've raised 70% for this current project. We pretty much have all the money we need. Again, I'm thinking of projects in the future where we got about 80% done. I could apply quarterly if we're eligible for that grant in the future.
Okay.
So it's really the doors it opens up for us, much less than the money.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Has the CAT grant been awarded to you?
No.
Okay, so this is based on your CAT grant approval?
We don't need it for this particular project.
Okay.
Being funded by the city and the county allows us to apply in the future. Because any CAT grant requires funding from the county and the city.
The project's about $100,000, right?
Yeah.
You've got all that money
Almost?
without a CAT grant?
Correct. But then next year, we're gonna be doing the porch of the Dodge House. So there's gonna be more and more capital projects. So that's kind of what I'm thinking about. But between Iowa West, Union Pacific, the City Council of Bluffs, and our own membership, we pretty much have the Bersham House porch project funded. What the city won't cover is painting, and so this might be good for the paint shop.
Why is that?
It's considered maintenance and not capital.
Okay, I would just ask Supervisor Shea and Schultz in your motion, where were you wanting to bring them funds from?
Oh, gaming's fine.
Gaming?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign. Hearing none, motion passes.
Thank you.
John,
Thank you.
thanks, Tom. John Rasmussen, County Engineer, discussion and/or decision to approve and authorize chairman to sign the final voucher for project BR SWAP-CO78, parent 195-FF78 G30 Nishnabotna River Bridge in Hancock. Motion and a second.
I'll second. Amend on
Motion and a
budget.
second to approve Cornerstone Commercial Contractors pay request number 3 for downtown rebuild. Oh, that's not.
No, that's not it.
What's
It's for the final voucher for that project on
Right.
the Nishnabotna Bridge in Hancock.
What's that? Wow. Yeah, I know. Wow, Andrew. Oops, I have to ask him on that one. Okay. So we have a motion by Supervisor Wickman and a second by Supervisor Shea to pay the final voucher. Any discussion?
Yeah. John, the Hancock sewer, they got all that taken care of too, right?
They relocated their sewer line before we did the bridge.
So that's all been done?
Yeah.
Completed? Okay, thank you very much.
So the bridge has been done for a while, we're just finishing the paperwork now.
All right. Okay.
You just what?
Finishing the paperwork.
Yeah, okay.
That was a DOT.
Yeah, it was
project.
state grants there.
Who was the contractor? Oh, that was
Jensen?
Jensen. You pretty happy with them then?
Yeah, they've had 2 or 3 lately.
Okay. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those like sign.
Question for John before these.
Hearing, pardon?
John, before you're done with this, right? You're not on the agenda anymore, right? Okay. Where are we at on the Dumfries project?
Right now, we gave that design to HGM, so it's developing as well as the interior roads. So that's all being developed together. We're not doing the design in-house.
How far along are we with that?
I don't know. I told them we wanted to let a year ahead of the developer, so that was our intended schedule.
So when do you plan then to let that? this spring, this fall,
Uh,
next summer?
pretty much just keeping pace with the developer. So the developer did the minor subdivision, but hasn't done the plating for the major subdivision I'm aware of. So we're staying ahead of them, but we're not trying to beat them done if they're not moving ahead on the major. So that's where I'm at. I'm just trying to keep pace ahead of them.
Make sure you're communicating with them, so that you're on the same page, because I don't want to.
Right.
I don't want
If
us.
we're waiting on them and they're waiting on us, then we're sitting here like typical government, I don't wanna be like that.
No, I did meet with the developers and they're aware of what my plan is and with HGM, so we had a sit-down meeting on that already.
Well, the one developer is using, are they both using HGM?
I don't know the West development. I think that's HGM as well.
That's what I was thinking, they're both using HGM.
They're not dependent on us for any road improvements for that subdivision though.
Right, but I think they're both using HGM, I think.
Yeah, you're talking, well, yeah, cause the 240, that little sliver of 240 is part of this too, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, thank you, John.
Ask questions, Scott, while we got you on here. I'm just curious when or if, M16 north up to the old 83 road, if it's scheduled for any resurface, and if the Minden Road on south is scheduled, on the schedule. I'm just curious.
So the Minden South's been let and under contract. It's just too late. It'll be gravel through the winter and we'll be in the way of harvest, so we're just delaying on that one. So that's under contract.
Okay.
M16, I wanted to get that pipe culvert replaced before that one moves ahead, so it's coming up in a couple of years.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you, John. Okay, next up, we have Jason Slack. Oh, we did?
Did you vote? Finish the vote?
Oh,
Okay.
we did? Okay. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign. Hearing none, motion passes. Yep.
What's this,
Okay, Jason Slack, Director.
Cornerstone Commercial Contractors?
No, that's, he must have had that from his last agenda or something. Not published anywhere, so I think it's.
It was just a mistake.
I think it's just an error. A human one.
Cool.
Jason Slack, Director, Buildings and Grounds, and Matt how do you pronounce that last name, Matt?
It's Wyatt Wurgis.
Wyatt? Wurgis?
Wurgis, yeah.
Okay, and Shane Haas, ETI, discussion and or decision to approve and sign proposal for engineering services for air handling unit replacement retrofit project engineering technology, Inc., ETI. Thank you.
Our objective for this project is to replace 40-plus-year-old equipment while we increase air quality and energy efficiency. Is kind of what we're looking at doing, and White has provided a proposal with a couple alternates in order to get this work done.
Yeah, so right now, when we did the original renovation project, we upgraded all the infrastructure with the anticipation that at some point in the future, whether more kind of dictated by either funds and or the replacement of this old equipment, that it would be brought online to the infrastructure we put in during the renovation project. So there's a baseline and then two alternates we've kind of broken out to give you options in terms of how you move forward we can do it from a design standpoint and or funding standpoint. And so the baseline would be you have 3 cold deck units. So your system, you have a cold deck and a hot deck, and they both feed a box. That box responds to a thermostat in your spaces. And then it dictates the amount of air from each of those decks, hot or cold. So the cold deck units, those would be the ones that are baseline that we'd recommend doing right now. There's already a unit that's been having some issues. We'd recommend just doing all of them at once. We'd also pick up a couple of other pieces of equipment that have been having some issues. There's an old exhaust fan that needs to get replaced. So we'd include that all in the baseline. Alternate 1 and alternate 2, these would not be requirements, but we'd strongly recommend, especially alternate 1. So alternate 1 would be replacing the hot deck units. So the hot deck units are already on the hot water system, but they're 40 years old, and given you're going to the effort of replacing the cold deck units to do all of the hot deck units with this project would be the most cost effective. It also would allow for us to operate your hot water system at lower temperatures, improving efficiencies in the process. Alternate 2 is to put a heat recovery chiller heater in. And so basically what this would do is this would be sized to match your air conditioning unit that serves the crack room and the server room right now for your 911 center. And this would allow us to have a really high efficiency piece of equipment that would operate 24/7, 365. We've calculated a payback of 6.5 to 8.5 years, depending on the manufacturer end up going with. And that is based off an extremely low natural gas rate. So right now the county pays about 62 cents a therm. Nationally, that average is 95 cents a therm. So it's likely that anticipated that natural gas prices probably go up as opposed to down long term, so that'll improve that payback. I would suggest that you not do alternate 2 if you're not doing alternate 1. I would say alternate 2 is contingent on alternate 1. Alternate 1 can happen without alternate 2.
Okay.
So we can go back.
We got all the money in the world, Jason, what should we be doing here? Because what I don't want to do is kick this down the road and make it some other board's problem. Like, now's the time to get this fixed, so let's just do it. So what do you recommend?
I recommend doing the project with both alternates.
So I'll make that motion, we move forward with this.
Second.
Okay, I got the motion by, okay, and second by Supervisor Shea. These gonna be 40-year plus equipment too, that lasts that long? I don't think they make that equipment like that anymore, that lasts 40 years plus.
The hope would be, I mean, so your current units now, the fact that the DX units have lasted as long as they have is quite impressive.
We note that.
Yeah, and that's a testimony to the.
We've replaced compressor motors and things on them that have cost quite a bit of money over the years.
Sure.
So given that we'd be going back with chilled water units on the cold deck, in theory, they should be able to last a very long time because the piece of equipment that fails the most often is on the chiller now. It's been removed from that air handler. So you'll have more redundancy overall in your system than you have right now with the new chilled water system that's in place.
Is this something we can cover under our
ARPA? Should be.
Or either one, I guess?
Yeah, I think for air quality, it would count under ARPA. However, I believe there is room inside the urban renewal bond to do that for renovations as well.
Do I need to decide which one now, or?
No.
Okay.
What's the total estimated cost of this project, you know?
Yes, so we've been working very closely with the contractor that did the renovation addition, so these numbers we feel are pretty close to where they're gonna land. So the baseline project, assuming a 10% contingency, is all-in design fees and everything is $575,000 estimate. Alternate 1 would be $240,000, and alternate 2 would be $140,000.
Was those numbers weren't in the stuff that was presented though, right?
No, we did not include opinions of cost in that.
Okay, could you give me those one more time?
Yes, the baseline is $575,000, and that includes the design fees.
So we're about $950 million.
Okay.
Alternate 1 is $240,000, and alternate 2 is $140,000.
40?
140, yeah.
Is there a contingency number in those or no?
That includes a 10% contingency. So what I did was I took the
On all
construction.
those numbers?
Yep. So I took the construction number, put a 10% contingency on that, and then I added in design fees and GC overhead.
Okay. When would this work be done?
So we anticipate schedule-wise to have this out to bid early January. And it could, because it's all internal, it can happen relatively quickly depending on equipment lead time. So we're seeing fairly long lead times unfortunately right now, so it would probably commence sometime in the spring, likely in late March or April, probably April would be what we anticipate.
Okay.
Is the size for the new wing?
So this only impacts the existing building. All the new wing is it's all on its own. The equipment we're adding in the wing will help serve this, because we're adding another chiller in the addition project, and that will serve this equipment as well.
This solves our issue with the server room then?
So we believe we got to the bottom of the existing chiller issue we've been having. It was a software update that needed to be applied. That happened last week. From what I understand, that's solved the issue. We're still monitoring and tracking that. For it to be that simple of a fix, to spin our wheels on that for as long as we did is a little painful, but it seems to have resolved it. But we'll keep monitoring that.
Because that 911 signal is pretty important.
Oh, absolutely.
With the servers and stuff, so.
Yeah,
You feel we have money in the pot?
I'll have to double check. I know it was gonna be that big.
Yeah,
so.
you can't do ARPA, you got urban renewal.
Yeah.
So I mean, we're
Between the two.
Justin, when we had our discussion on the capital plan, we had, in our original discussion with Jason, we anticipated $500,000 for that.
yeah, so
And if you take alternate 1 and alternate 2 off, we're at about $500,000. So we're just updating some additional equipment. And so we're in pretty decent shape, I think.
yeah. I mean, like I said, if ARPA's gonna cover it, I think we
Right.
spend the Fed's money first. If not, we have another way to do it.
Yep.
Okay, any other discussion?
When will the design be done? And you said you're gonna hope to send it out to bid in January?
Yeah, we would like to wait till after the holidays to make sure we have bid coverage.
Does that require board action for that, Jason, to put it out for bid?
Yes.
They'll be coming back when, December then, I take it?
Yeah, that'd be fine. Back in December.
All right. Awesome.
Okay, any other discussion, questions?
Good.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign. Hearing none, motion passes.
Who made those
Thank you.
motions?
What?
I didn't, and Shay.
Schultz made the motion, Shay seconded. Thank you.
Jason.
Thanks, gentlemen. Next up, we have East and West Pot and Soil Water Conservation Districts discussion and or decision on education coordinator position. Who's leading this off? Tammy
Well,
or Cammy or you or?
Sure. Collaboratively. Thank you for having us come over and allowing us to come over. And we've had some meetings with our education committee, so thanks everybody on both sides and for you guys for meeting. We've did some research, put some proposals together. Collaboratively, I think we've come up with a really good plan to keep a really important position in place for the county. Do you want me to kind of spell it all out, or as to what we come up with? We had Jenna, and I apologize, I've misplaced your last name, from HR, and brought us, as far as benefits package, and as you know, we've been very successful with our education positions over the years. However, we've never had the ability to have a benefits package for them, and that's why we've lost the 3 that we've had, just because, that was something that they needed. And so we put some numbers together with, like I said, with collaboration with these folks, and think we've come up with a good plan to, and so appreciate Justin and Tim's support with this in regards to offering, instead of trying to find a benefits plan as an individual, as we know that can be challenging, to write a 28E and have that particular person join underneath the county insurance benefits, and then post it that way. So
Currently, the board provides $40,000 for this position, right? 20 for East Spot, 20 for West Spot.
Yes, sir.
If we up that to 80,000, that would cover the position. It would also cover the benefits package that they would be able to provide to this person.
I mean, yeah, go ahead.
You know, we all believe, you know, that this is a position we should have. And back in, let's see, 2011, 2012, they budgeted, not us. Scott, were you on then?
Yes, so.
Oh, then it's your fault. They budgeted about $100,000 for the position, and then after that, it went away. I don't know why it did or how it did. I didn't really dive into it that much, but my recommendation and my motion would be that we provide $80,000 for this position. Ask our county attorney to come up with a 2080 agreement that's favorable for both parties, and move forward with this position. And we'll take those funds out of gaming.
Every year?
Yeah, I was gonna ask that
Well,
question. Should we do a how many year deal?
It would be, my recommendation would be a 5-year 2080 agreement, reviewed after 3, just to make sure that, number one, we're covering the cost of the position. Hate to say it this way, but we're not overfunding it, that kind of thing.
Well, you should, if the total package is 80,000, is that what I hear?
Yeah.
So I don't know what you have in the educational bank now. You should have funds now, I assume, right?
Do you know what those are?
Small amount,
What did Brooke say last week?
Brooke said the other night when we were visiting, there was around 60,000. That would be both.
How much?
Because, around 60, because
both
we don't have
sides.
anybody working right now.
Right,
She
right.
put her letter.
So we should replenish the bucket back to 80 each, whatever fiscal year, calendar year, whichever the 2080 does. So that's what the number is, right?
Yeah, I would say deduct out what your inputs were, you know, because I think each side to put 5,000 in or something, I wouldn't calculate that number. Take out what was spent from the county money that we gave you, go there. I mean, yeah, you look at this thing, I mean, the bottom line is this, you hire someone to do this job, and it is incredibly important that we do this. It's not hard to walk outside city limits and see, you know, why this is important. But on the flip side of it, if you have someone there for 1 year at a time because they want to move on and do something else, you don't have the consistency that you need. And I really just think you're going to have a bunch of 1-year fights. So I think it's best that we do something a little more long-term so that we can get someone in there to stay there, keep it consistent, get our messaging consistent, you know, through all the schools and your efforts, and we just move forward. So.
Have you got someone in mind?
No, we will be putting together a job description because we have not in the past offered a benefit package at all. So once again, West Spot and East Spot will go together and we will get a new type of description of what we really want. And we've been discussing that since our meetings too, qualifications and that sort of thing. We've been a little lax at times in the past trying to hire somebody with the money we had, and so now we can be a little more set in our ways, I think, when we go out to offer a job proposal.
So a single for a year would be, Janet?
For health,
Yes.
health benefits? What did we say,
Single.
20 for single?
Pardon?
Do you still have it written down there?
I do. A single
I thought it
is
was
9,000.
9 and then 20.
9,700 and
Yeah,
another
and then
1,100.
So
They would have to
90, let's
put
just say
in.
9,700. Is that right?
That's the employer portion, or that's total?
That is total,
And then for the, if it's family,
23.
23,
They'd have to put in about
10.
2070 or something.
All those small details can be worked out in the 2080 agreement. You haven't posted this position yet,
No.
but you'll look to hire in January, right?
Yes.
Okay, so you're gonna have 6 months worth of wages. That's gonna cost about $30,000. So if we make our 2080 agreement beginning in the fiscal year of 22-23 in June, you should still have about $30,000 in your coffers. Well, probably not, you're only gonna have 10, you're only gonna have 10.
Yeah.
Because you're gonna have to come up with the healthcare insurance, so you'll have 10. That would, if we move forward with the 80, you will have $10,000 in June. That should be able to handle your cost of living increases for 5 years, shouldn't it?
I would think
Ballpark.
so.
Yeah.
So anywhere from,
Which
I
healthcare
would say
number were you
1.5 to
when you
3.
said that?
I'm using the family one.
Okay.
That's worst case scenario. I mean, that's probably what's gonna happen. So, Cammie, when I look at that letter that you sent me, you were requesting that, the cost of living increases and health insurance benefits written in as automatic increases to the allocation.
It's kind of just a recap after our meeting. You know how we talked about that if there was changes in that it would just automatically, as the county too. And that's what we were just kind of trying to capture based off of our meeting.
I think that's one of the things that we can review after 3 and not included in the 2080 agreement. You should have enough funds left over for that, I think. You know, I want this to be a long-term thing. And, you know, I don't know if I'll be here in 5. I mean, I'm gonna be alive. I don't know if I'll be on the board. But you'll be able to renegotiate that in 5 years. Matt, our county attorney, said that he put together a 2080 agreement. Is he, are you still in that position, Matt?
Yeah, no, will not be hard.
So if you're okay with that, as far as the board goes, we can move forward with the 2080 agreement and funds for the position. It's costing us $40,000 more a year, coming out of gaming. And it's a position that, you know, they have said they really need. We feel, at least I feel, that it's a position we really need, so.
Can I ask a question? How does your workers' comp, do you have workers' comp insurance for this employee? That you are, so that's not part of these costs? Or there won't be an increase for that?
There will have to be an increase with their.
Okay, do you have workers' comp insurance for the employee, like this previous employee, did you have workers' comp for them?
I cannot answer that, since they were mostly part-time.
Okay.
I think we got by without it, to be very truthful.
So think about that.
Yes.
That you may need to get something for that, but that's not included in any of these costs that we're talking about. Life insurance, we've never talked about life insurance.
We talked a little bit about it where there's like, you mentioned like $1,000 or something pretty.
Well, the county offers life insurance to each employee and then they can get voluntary, but that wasn't in any of the costs that Tim just referenced now. So if you want life insurance that you're going to pay for, then that would be a little bit more of a cost, or you could just offer voluntary life insurance and then that would be 100%.
That was our first discussions was just to offer.
Okay, just voluntary, offer voluntary,
Yeah,
okay.
Can you put those costs together and provide that both to the board and to East and West
Yes.
Soil? And we'll get those numbers to them. They can make that call.
Yes. Yep, absolutely.
Was Jamie the longest one that we had? Was she there? Did she make 3 years?
3 years. I don't know, Wes, do you remember? Was she the longest? I'm not sure.
Well, it seems like it was. I mean,
Longest
Actually,
or
I think
most
James-
recent.
pardon?
The more recent era, since I've been around, yes, she was the longest.
There wasn't one before that.
I think Jamie actually was.
Jamie was
That's
the
one of the
longest.
reasons for leaving.
She took a teaching job, more money,
Yeah.
and benefits.
And benefits.
Well, yeah. Her
Paige
husband
got
was-
married
her
and
husband
moved
was a
away.
Her husband was a principal, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that he was carrying the insurance and then there was gonna be
Yes.
some restructuring and so she
Right.
needed to find a job in the event that he no longer could carry the insurance, if I'm recalling correctly. So
That is
she
correct.
needed to have the insurance and that's why she took the teaching job.
So.
So Kim,
Well,
you-
and more money. You just
Yeah.
well said, more money was part of it too.
Right,
They have a
no,
large
yeah.
family and she just said, we're not meeting our expenses this way.
Yeah.
She said, I really like being here and I prefer it to going back to this teaching, but the wages aren't there.
We have a pretty good core curriculum now, I would,
When did she leave?
oh God, two years ago?
Maybe.
No, just
I think
three, wasn't it?
3 years ago.
I believe.
Kim, you're the chair of East.
Yes, sir.
Your board's ready to move forward with this, right?
Mhm.
Don?
Yes,
Okay.
we're ready to move.
We'll get with Matt, we'll get with Jen, we'll get the 2080 put together, and then we'll get it to you for review and approval on your side and the board side, and we'll be ready to rock in June of 2022.
Fantastic.
Sound good?
Thanks,
All right.
guys.
Do we need any,
Thanks for your work.
do we
You bet.
need,
Thank
we
you,
don't
Ben.
need any action on this then?
John made a motion that we provide $80,000 to East and West Slope Conservation in June of 2022, coming out of gaming, based on a favorable 2080 agreement between both parties.
Yeah. Up to $80,000, what you're saying, right?
No, I'm saying 80.
You're giving them 80 even if they have,
Well, they're not gonna have any, Scott,
they're not gonna have any.
not very much.
Well, where's it gonna, if they got 60 now, where's it going?
Well, you gotta go back with the payment for the benefit package would be coming back into you.
Right, but you're not paying the benefit package until starting June of 20, or July of 2022, right?
No,
No, January.
they'll be
Hopefully we'll
moving
have
forward in
somebody on
January.
board.
Yeah.
Right, if we can get the PD position, yeah.
Okay.
We'll, write the PD, get it posted, and hopefully we'll have
So we're gonna put somebody to
somebody.
work in January, okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that they can get
Okay.
into the schools before they take the summer breaks and
Okay,
continue on so they can build
yeah,
for the
yeah,
fall.
yeah, yeah, okay.
Is our hope.
There might even be some of those that have midterm graduations that might be looking at this position as well, so
Sure,
we gotta be ready.
okay, sounds good.
Bob, Don, Cammy,
Okay,
Bernie, Russ, thanks. We'll see you again.
Well,
Maybe-
really, we appreciate the fact that two of you volunteered to meet with us, and we met 2 or 3 times, and then you've come to our meetings. And we learned a lot from the experience of what we needed to do this, and having Matt in the room the last time, and HR in the room too, it's made a lot of difference in us working together to get things put together too. So it's a real benefit to us.
okay.
Okay, we'll see you in
We
about
thank you, folks.
What do you have that ready, Matt, in a month?
Sure.
All right, is that okay with you?
You still need to
Okay.
vote, just FYI.
What's that?
I don't think you voted yet.
I'm not, I'm gonna try to. I'm gonna try to. So I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign. Hearing none, motion passes. Thanks, appreciate it.
See you guys
Thanks for
again.
everything, thanks for everything you guys do.
Thank you.
I'll be in touch with information.
Okay, next up, Matt Wyatt, Director, Planning and Zoning, Andrea Capital, Middle Day Development, update on the status of public building project, and discussion or decision on RFP matrix for public health building. Okay, who wants to start?
I can start off just thanking, the Board of Supervisors for having us here and continuing on with our project for the public health building. And the RFP was released and sent out, and Andrea's here today to give you a little bit of an idea of the breakdown of that on the matrix that we sent in to you all, and then a kind of a description of that process. So I'll turn it over to Andrea and Amy for that.
Okay. Grab it now. So wanted just to explain our process a little bit so everybody understands how we operate on these things. Typically when we do this, and we do a lot of most projects we do almost all like this, whether it's the architect or the contractor, to ensure a transparent process. We do this for for-profit developers, we do it for philanthropic groups, we do it for nonprofits, We do it for basically anybody we work with that's picking a contractor or an architect. So it ensures a transparent process. It's an open book thing. It's a way to keep everyone honest. It's a way to pick the best person for the job. So we put out the RFP to 5 firms that were all capable of doing this type of project. 3 of them sent in proposals. 2 of them said, you know, our work is scheduled for the year. We just don't have capacity, which is good to know instead of them squeezing it in and us not getting a good product. So we got 3 really good proposals. From there, 2 interviews were conducted. Basically what happened was everybody reviewed the proposals, thought, you know, we produced the matrix that you guys have been sent by Matt, and it was decided to interview BVH and Ally Pointer Mercado based on our evaluation criteria. It's not necessarily in order, but price is always obviously something to consider. Relevant experience, do they have experience with this type of project, and also in a downtown, like the corner where we're building this project is really important. So we want to make sure that we don't have a suburban architect designing something for an important corner downtown. The proposed project team that they're proposing, their A team and not their B or C team, that we get the best team within that firm. The proposal quality, so did they follow the RFP? Did they submit it on time? Did they make their proposal specific to the project? And it wasn't just some cookie cutter proposal that they hand out to everybody. Did they really do their homework and pay attention? So we look at all that. We also looked at who showed interest, who asked questions, who asked for tours before submitting the proposal, like who was genuinely interested in the project and asked the right questions. So then there were 2 that were decided to interview. And then we did the interviews, and it was, I mean, both were fine firms. It just seemed that one stood out over the other. And so what we do is Field Day does the work and facilitates the process. The client ultimately makes the decision. We just present the facts and kind of do the work on your behalf. So that was the process. It was a really good process. Like I said, we use it. Whether it's banks or philanthropic groups or board of directors, people like this process, and it's fair and transparent, so it does us well. Do you guys have any questions? Happy to answer any questions.
You mentioned that you sent that out to 5 people. How many of them are from Council Bluffs? Just 1?
Just 1.
Matt, are we going to address 2 today, or is that off the agenda?
It's still under review at the attorney's office right
So we're
now.
not moving forward.
Then we have to wait until the attorney's review.
Andrea, in this price that they provided, that you selected, Ally Pointer, does that include visits with all the employees in the department to make sure we have the space and stuff that they're going to need for the building?
Yeah, probably the biggest piece in the beginning of a project is what they would call programming. And programming sounds like it's a stupid name, but really what it means is that's when they sit with all the staff, Matt and staff, period, especially each program, to understand, you know, how many offices do you need, or workstations? Do you want a built-in reception? Like, what are the spaces? The folks that administer the shots and vaccinations, how do you function? Do you want it to be kind of a streamline, like just you get a shot and you move through? How does that work? So we understand, do you need to have a waiting room after that shot room? So that's when they'll ask a ton of questions. They'll do a lot of listening. They'll ask about, what do you guys do every day? Tell us how you operate. So they'll do a lot of listening and then asking a lot of questions to ensure that we have the right quantity of each type of space and that we understand how each space is going to be used. So say, for example, the big meeting room that would be planned, it could be a meeting room, it could be a mass vaccination site, so that whatever whatever we decide that room could be used for, that it's built and set up to where it could be multifunctional. So whether it needs some technology in it or whatever it needs, that it's built and ready to go and thought through during design. So yeah, that'll be a pretty big process in the beginning. That seems to take a lot of the time. And so the program will end up being almost a spreadsheet. It'll have quantities, square footages, room names, all that stuff. That at the bottom will have like a total square foot. That will also take into consideration circulation space. So your hallways, your equipment rooms, all your kind of back of house stuff that nobody really calculates. So that program will have all of the needed pieces plus that circulation gross up. That will inform the size of the building. And then they'll start doing test fits. So based on the site we have, they'll probably present, they actually did in the interview, present a couple of options for the way the building would look, taking into consideration the fact that it is a really important corner of the district, of the Haymarket, and that's an historic district. So they'll present several options until, one final option is approved. Based on that, that's when the details of the design begin.
And that's in their base?
Yes, that is.
Base gold price?
Yep, Yep, that's part of the process, absolutely. So we also, in our RFP, we tell them what should be included to make sure we have a comprehensive process and nothing's missed. And if something we think needs to be added, it's one of those things, whether, whatever firm, it's like, hey, we think we need to add this. Can you do this extra step? Generally, people say, absolutely, we'll take that extra step. So if we think we still haven't uncovered everything, we will guide them and help them and say, why don't we try this next? And that's happened before, so we can definitely pay attention.
Was this cost of services based on a 20,000 square foot building?
The cost of services is mostly based on that was basically the idea of 20,000 square feet was what they thought may be the size. And so then we asked every architect, what price, during the RFP, what price do you think that size of building would come in at? Based on that is how they made their fees. So it's usually based on price of construction. So they all proposed a percentage based on construction. Now, once we get some of the details settled, and we generally have the layout of the building and some of the details set, we'll set that price so we can set a final budget.
That's important to have.
Yeah.
To have those numbers. The square footage is the size that's required, or that the staff believes they need for this thing to function correctly.
Yep.
That's going to determine the final price of Alley Point, correct?
Yes, it's based on a percentage, and so by the time we actually produce a final budget for everyone to see, that would have all the soft costs, construction stuff, site work, everything included, we will have generally set that fee with them. Like, we know the scope of the project, we've had a contractor look at it and give us a price, and then we can kind of set that. Now, there are times with any project that an owner decides they want to revisit something or redo it. And so if there are owner changes that demand redesign, that's obviously a different story. But generally, we set that price with them, and it sticks, so.
So, I mean, it's probably wouldn't be accurate, but if we decided we wanted a 10,000 square foot building and $3 million was the cost, it's not realistic to say their price would be cut in half, is it?
Generally, what the rule of thumb with either architects or general contractors is the bigger the project, the lower the percentage. The smaller the project, the higher the percentage. And so if we cut the project in half, they might say, well, we gave you a 6.75% cost because it was this range. If you cut the project in half, they might say we need our percentage to go up to 7.5 or 8. I don't think that would happen based on the program and everything we've talked about with Matt. You have a lot of stuff you're fitting in this building. So I don't expect to be cut in half. If it was, I would say that's our job to keep them honest and for everyone to be reasonable and for us to get a good price.
Does our contract with you, you cover the supervision and the oversight of the project while it's moving forward? Or is it
I don't
construction phase?
remember the details of the contract, honestly, what we put forth, because I usually actually don't ever sign one. So you guys were the first in 11 years I've signed something for. I just kind of like to do a good job and take care of our clients.
I didn't bring mine in with me.
So, but generally,
that's
yes, that's our job, is absolutely, we get all the professionals together. We provide, we create a good team on the client's behalf to make sure that we produce a good project. So absolutely, it would be my job to communicate with the architects if this project got cut in half, to make sure you guys still got a fair price.
I will say, as a part of the process that we went through, when we met with both the Alley Pointer team and the BVH team, what we did see from both of them really was that there's not much better time than to build a public health building now. Both of those teams had a real passion for the public health side of what was going on right now. They really wanted to be involved in a project like this, which was exciting to hear from both of them. But I felt like we really connected more with the Alley Pointer and their group, and just kind of the passion that they had for the project.
I think, I guess the most important thing to me is to make sure that they spend the time they need. They would spend the time they need to make sure we size it correctly. I mean, costs are important too. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
if we can do it for 4 million instead of 6, I mean, that's great. If we only need 15,000 square feet or 10,000 square feet, that's great too. At least my opinion is, I want to make sure that when we do this, time's taken, Matt, everybody gets what they need out of this.
Absolutely. I would say that you're going to err on, they're going to beat the dead horse. Like, they're going to, architects, especially Alley Pointer, is going to make sure that they have uncovered every stone before we set the building size. And so if it takes them longer than what they had budgeted for programming, they're going to just do it because that's the right thing to do.
Yeah,
And that's our job.
Disappointed, it's gonna take about a year to do this just for them, right? They said 35 weeks, but I know Matt and his team they're gonna take some time to make sure they get the space requirements right.
I mean, it goes back to, do you want a quality job and do it a little slower, or do you want to hurry up and rush through it? Everybody was, I mean, it was 35, 36, and 30. Now, some of those have bidding, contract negotiations, and permitting, and so those don't really count towards their design time because they will have already issued construction documents at construction documents. So really, their full design time will be 5, 6, 7, they'll be at 28 weeks of design time. And so we will also price at every iteration after that. Every iteration, so once they get schematic, design development, 60% of CDs done, we will have pricing updates to make sure that we're in line with the budget we want to go towards. So really, they're only at 27 weeks of design. And if you backed out the numbers for everybody, it wouldn't be that much different.
Who was the team that met with Alley Pointer?
It was how many of your staff? There were 6 of you?
It was myself, Maria Seek, and then, Jake Head, Garfield, and Nick were in the room at the same time, but myself and Maria Seek were engaged in it, and then Andrea and Amy.
So, although we don't have a contract ready from Alley Pointer, Nick Jedlicka, is that your recommendation to move forward with Alley Pointer?
Based on what I've heard, yes.
Garfield?
Yes.
Maria?
Yes.
Okay.
Are we still?
Matt?
Yes.
You put the product forward, huh?
Are we still, a couple of things, I guess. Are we still considering Sherry and the medical examiner in that building?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then, is it gonna be, I guess, developed or designed that it can be potentially, increased or added on to in the future?
Yes, those were part of the conversations as well.
Pardon?
Yes, I made those points very clear as well, that, we wanted a construction style that, you know, years down the road, you can be added on to.
Laid out
Mhm.
so that it's, okay.
And I think too, if anybody's worried about timeline, so once we get going and establish our start date with them, we have basically a 3-page schedule built of literally every detail of every activity we do. And so that will provide that to Matt, and he can circulate as needed. So once we actually start, what's that?
Send it to the board.
Sure. Yeah, we can send anything you guys like. So we would produce a schedule once we define the kickoff date for Alley Pointer. And if based on the schedule, the way it's laid out initially, if everybody collectively says we really would like to get that done sooner, what we could then say is, well, we can ask Alley Pointer to put out a footing and foundations package early. And so they might not be done with design, but we can put out a footing and foundations package and get people rolling on specific elements and start that package and getting that built to decrease the timeline. So there's a lot of ways to skin the cat here. We produce a schedule, but depending on if there's a deadline we need to ultimately meet or whatever it is, we can figure out, or if we need to go slower because of cash flow, whatever the thing is, we can figure out and work with the architects or the contractor to figure out how to accommodate the needs. So that is one more thing. You'll see a schedule. If you say, I want it to move faster, we'll figure out how to make it happen.
The existing building over there is how many square feet?
20,000.
Roughly 20,000? Okay.
It's 10,000 on each floor, right?
Right.
Okay. And then, are you in 5,000 now over there or less? How much are you in over there?
We have, at the clinic, there's 1,800 square feet there, and then we're in probably approximately 3,000 square feet on the annex building right now, and isn't the annex building 6,000 square feet?
I don't know, what is it, Jason? I have that on my desk.
Yeah, I believe
don't
it's
have
6,000.
I think it's 6,000 per floor.
No, it's 8,500 per floor.
Okay, so I was thinking it was around 6,000 per floor, or whatever. And then there's some other programming that's potentially out there. It'd probably be about another 2,500 square feet.
Right.
But like when we took our tours, the one thing we noticed is we have somebody sitting in a hallway. So like the way it's laid out, obviously once we lay it out appropriately where everyone can function the way they should in their job, I mean, that number will obviously change significantly.
Okay.
Do you guys have any other questions?
I do not. Matt, keep me posted well, I'll talk to you later about it. We're not approving the contract or the agreement with Alley Pointer today anyway. I'd like to sit in on some of those interviews of you and your team.
Yeah, I talked to Matt already about finishing the review of that contract for us, so.
I'd like to be involved with some of the programming if possible too, just as far as infrastructure requirements and
Definitely will be.
Yeah, I think it's best if we're all kept abreast of as it processes through. And what we need is get to a point of some concepts that we can try to go out and find some additional partners and funding probably with this thing. I think there's quite a few opportunities out there. This is still kind of out in the forefront, and what we've been going through and what we're going to go through, be better prepared, and now's the time to see who all our partners might be with this thing, and such. So, okay.
Do we need a motion on the
On the,
RFP?
Do you want any motion today, Matt?
Well, in the past, you guys have done it two different ways. I mean, you've either just waited until the county attorney finishes their review of it, or you have made your motion contingent on the county attorney finishing his review of it. I don't mind either way you go. We can put it back on the agenda for next Tuesday, and then that way, the county attorney would have his time to get his input on the contract, or you can go ahead and make it contingent on that. It's whatever the board so chooses.
He says to wait till next Tuesday.
There you go.
No, the only thing really was the second was the item number 2 on here, really. Item number 1
was just an update, right?
This is the RFP.
Yeah, it said that after discussion was held with the board, a motion was made and seconded to approve the RFP matrix for public health building. I don't know that we need to do.
It's just a matrix.
Yeah, I don't know that we needed to do that.
I'm with you, Scott. I think we move right on. Matt, will you do it?
Matt, you review the.
He'll have it next
Yep.
week.
And then,
And if any other questions come up during that time, please
So-
feel free to reach out to me.
So the first work product that, if we approve Holly Pointer next week, the first work product that we will get will be what?
So, oh, go ahead. So if you guys approve it next week, I mean, it'll probably take frankly 2 weeks to get a kickoff meeting set with 10 people involved. So the first work product you would get would be, so that would be, say, second week of October if we got going. Probably mid-November, we'd have what we would call the program. So that would be that document saying, we need X amount of offices, we need so many workstations, we need so many meeting rooms, and then we would be able to define that square footage with circulation. So that would be the work product you'd get, is a true program document that we could circulate. Everyone has a chance to look at. You would know that staff and other folks had been talked with and had input at that time too.
Okay.
Andrea, one last question.
Yeah.
So, let's just say, for instance, after a meeting with Matt and his team, we decide a 12,000 square foot building is the proper size.
Mm-hmm.
We've signed a contract with Alley Pointer for $450,000 based on a 20,000 square foot building and $6 million in costs. Do we revise the contract?
We would,
How are we gonna do that?
I would talk to them and basically, if we ended up that was the program and it was smaller, so absolutely we would talk and say, what is our new, what's our new budget? And so I would guess we would say, let's get a contractor to price it, and then based on that pricing, then we would say, okay, this is the pricing, and we'll have that, a percent of that pricing. So it could be that you guys choose a smaller building, but that the building is a lot more highly programmed. So there could be, for example, just because it's smaller generally it should be, meaning it's cheaper, but if you highly program a building, it could be fairly expensive too. So I would say if we if we ended up with a lesser sized building, I would recommend we would have a contractor price it, give us a good feeling of what it's gonna cost based on the program. And then based on that, we would have what I would say our final price.
All right, one more question,
Yep,
and I
no, you're
promise I
fine.
won't ask anymore.
Just ask.
The proposed price of $5.4 to $6 million that was on the RFP, did that include any furnishings on the inside, furniture?
That was
Equipment.
just a kind of a range to do for construction. They do not, and so that's how their prices are. Now that's where we'll build you an entire budget. So that includes money for them to help us with selection of furniture and doing all the bidding of the furniture and all that stuff. But we'll give you a budget that shows construction, design, the technology costs. You guys are probably gonna buy screens and projectors and everything. it's gonna cover fees like, survey, and we're gonna have to do geotech. Every sort of soft cost that's available is gonna go into one final budget, and that's what you'll see in the final budget.
All right, thank you very much.
Mhm.
Good? Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
Matt, you're still on here.
Yeah, I'll be right back in.
We take a 5-minute recess.
Sure.
Yeah, 5 minutes.
Good way to do it.
Can we do that?
No, you know what?
Do you like it like a 63?
I just paused it. It says paused.
Becky, this is Alvin. If you guys are talking.
Hello?
I'm gonna Spencer in by a minute.
Sure.
Somebody on the phone?
Very,
Yeah, that's all.
oh, well, we haven't seen Andy.
I just said if you get take a break, I thought Becky might use the conference phone, but I think I'm the only one on.
Hey, Mitch, you got a minute? Yeah, it was definitely the building.
Their nachos look really good too.
Well, all these years, I mean.
I don't know, salad just doesn't seem like that good of an idea now.
Right. We need to get that, thing written up for that building down there too. Get that going.
Heartland Family Service?
Yeah.
Mary and I had been emailing today, so I think
Because,
we're,
Jason says staff can go down there more and more. It'd be
I think we
better.
got the agreement hashed out, so
Okay.
you can stick it on the agenda whenever you want. I mean, she had 5 things she wanted me to address. I sent her an email actually before I came in this morning, so I think they're all dealt with, so. Whenever you're ready to,
Well, it'd be better to have Jason, make sure Jason's available for it. You got conservation tonight, huh?
No, I'm trying to get that order about lunch, so
Good
I
job.
gotta cut someplace.
Makes sense. What do you have for lunch?
Well, Larry's sitting here talking about barley.
What is that?
Right.
I think that's one of Sherry's people, but we don't really collect those. Oh, got it. Got it. Yeah, I don't recognize the name, but I know she hired a couple, so that's gotta be on her.
Yeah, we don't keep them, but I just check to make sure that they don't have anything on the
Got it.
Draft County vehicle.
Mary and I,
609th
I had an email to Mary today. I think we got our last like 5, yes, 5 issues.
Yeah, and I told her yesterday, I said, yep, part of on this, we're about to finalize our bid.
I think we're gonna throw it on the agenda.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, Scott, I just talked to Jason. He said that can go on the agenda next week.
Okay,
So.
great.
Hey, is that the same thing for like the transfers? Can we wrap the transfer station ground into that? Do 2 public meetings too?
I don't think we have to, oh, yeah, we do have to have a public hearing on that, though.
Hancock says.
Yeah, it'll probably be 2 weeks now that I think about it, because we gotta put it a published notice of it since it's a public hearing. I don't think I can get that done in time for next Tuesday.
Okay.
So.
But yeah, if we could wrap that transfer station ground into it at the same time, that would be awesome.
Okay,
Major Schultz.
Ms. Groby,
Yeah, he's coming, I think.
okay.
I'm always over at Captain. You good?
Yeah.
Okay. We gotta wait for Joby. Do we get any comments on our?
Okay,
You get any comments?
Yeah. Yes, I am.
on,
Just, people watching, whatever, flipping me grief. This is what good friends do.
discussion or decision to accept resignation letter of Michael Guzman, MD, from the Board of Health.
Did you see that? I didn't get a copy of that.
The letter?
Yeah.
I don't think we did we?
It's on there.
Is it?
Yeah.
You got sent, yeah, I forwarded his letter over to Andrew to dispense.
Maybe I did with the Creighton letterhead on it. Where did I see that at?
It's on there.
What,
Oh, it
I
wasn't
guess I
there.
didn't see it, Matt. Why is he leaving?
He's taken kind of a lead role with CHI and their rural health out there. He offices out of the CHI office in Oakland. And his commitments between that and the school and his family have really just become too much for him, what he feels, to give the attention to the Board of Health. I did have a new applicant submit an application that just came in today that I'll get over to the Board of Supervisors for consideration for next week. But Dr. Guzman, I mean, he was with us from the beginning, a fabulous person we had on the Board of Health. He was young, coming out of medical school at that time, and he was very engaged. He came by the clinic multiple times, did all the audits and everything of the work that we're doing over there. I can't say enough good things about Dr. Guzman and his contribution that he made to the Board of Health. And at the time when he came on, I mean, obviously, we all remember it was kind of a volatile time when he came aboard. But he did fantastic with us and helping us set everything up so far.
Did you post that opening, Matt?
I didn't, I guess normally, I don't know, we don't normally post openings for that.
Should we?
It's up, would be a
I think we
decision.
need to do whatever we did before, so we're consistent. Not that that's a bad idea, I just don't wanna.
Well, I think the Board of Health requires a certain, mix of people, don't it, the Board of Health?
Well, yeah, they got the same, yeah.
Yeah, by state code, there's different professions that they would like to have. The Dr. Perry, who's applied to be on the Board of Health, she is OBGYN doctor at Methodist. Women's health issues are obviously coming to a big forefront, and I think with the direction that the health department is kind of heading in right now, we a huge benefit to have an OBGYN person on board for that. We have Dr. Jones is a pediatrician, he's our current chair. Barb Lee is a veterinarian. Lee Voss represents the EMTs, and then we have Susan Lorkovic, who is an RN.
Where's she from, Matt?
Dr. Perry, she grew up in the Des Moines area, graduated from Iowa.
Yeah, but where she live?
Where she live right now? I'd have to relook at her application. I don't.
Council Bluffs, Potawatomi County, Oakland, Boca.
I glanced at the application. I don't know.
Is that a requirement?
Yeah,
I would think they'd have to be a resident
I
of.
think they have to be in
No,
the district, yeah.
They either need to be a resident or participating in health care within this community.
Okay.
Yeah,
So as long
we'll
as
set
we
to find
work
a code
here with
section.
Are all the board members now currently in Pot County? They are, aren't they?
I think Dr. Gibson doesn't know.
I think Dr. Guzman lived in Carter Lake, maybe. I'm not sure where Susan resides at, but I think everybody else is in Potawatomi County.
So can I get a motion to accept the resignation
So
of?
move.
Second.
You check on that for us, man.
Any other discussion?
Nope.
Maybe the
So
board needs to thank him for
Are
his
you,
service.
are you looking at, well, yeah, they will, the Board of Health, and we'll need to do something for Dr. Guzman. Was he original member? I don't
For
think-
us, he was, yes.
He was?
When we made the transition, he was one of the first individuals that we got appointed on there.
Okay.
He wasn't the first individual we got appointed on there, because at the time they had lost their medical director. I guess you would say it was, I can't remember what her name was. But she had stepped down.
Susan Beadle?
No, that was an RN, it was a doctor. I really can't remember her name.
I know what you're talking
There was no original members of the Board of Health that were here when we took it over.
Correct.
All of them have changed.
They've all rotated around.
Cause it was, it wasn't Dr. Pignary, was it? It was,
It was close to that, yes.
and then there was, also the pharmacist down there too, wasn't there? Wasn't he on there?
He had already stepped down.
He'd already stepped down?
Yeah.
Or Ross?
Yeah, or Ross, he had stepped down, and then,
Cause you're talking about when we used to meet down on, at the, by the center down there? Yeah. Can't remember that gal's name either. Okay. So we have a motion and a second to accept Dr. Guzman and thank him for his service Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign. Hearing none, motion passes. Okay, next up, Matt Wilbur, County Attorney, discussion on filling county recorder vacancy.
We wanna know. You guys asked me to be on the agenda, so.
Yeah.
I think it was kind of before we had some other discussions outside of it, you know, individually.
Well,
But
what, we need to.
I mean, the short answer, I mean, that's.
4 and 20, if we're gonna appoint somebody, or what, there's a posting requirement or something?
You've got to, yeah, I mean, it's as far as, you know, what you have to do as far as posting, you know, notice. I mean, it's just like you would publish any other notice of intent to fill a vacancy. You don't have the option, as I told you in my email, you don't have the option of leaving it vacant. You don't have the option of folding it in with anything else. You pretty much just have to fill it or have a special election. Those are really the only two legal options you have. Special election can be called either by motion of the board, or by filling out, you know, signing of petitions that get submitted to the auditor's office. It takes a lot of signatures for voters to call a special election, like 10% of however many voted for, you know, in one of the last elections. So you ultimately would need like 4,500 signatures. The odds that that gets done are pretty slim. If you wanted to try to fold it in, you know, abolish the department or fold it in with another department, it would take even more, you know, signatures, like almost 10,000. And that's something that would have to go to a vote of the citizens in any event, so it's not even really your choice.
maybe this is a stretch, but you couldn't appoint another elected official into that position subject to them resigning their other, could you?
That, yeah, you could do that. I mean, if a person wanted to be the recorder, it was another elected official, but then you run into the incompatibility of office issue. So before they could accept one, they'd have to resign from the other. I mean, that's not but then, of course, you just have another vacancy to deal with, so, I mean, that's.
Yeah.
So.
Vacancy might be better to fill.
So regardless, just so you know, I mean, that's, so you have 40 days from the,
You're not following what I'm saying? I think you'd be the number one favor in this one, but that's all right. No, I'm just.
No, you need to let me know that, about that before the meeting. So, Matt.
you have 40 days from the date of vacancy, which is October 8th. So, I mean, it looks like November 17th, you have to have that spot filled. You know, by code, that's that's really it. It's a political process. It's sort of designed to be political. The board makes the choice, so whatever three of you agree on, that's who gets to be recorder. You can set up whatever process really that you want, for it, but you're not really required to. There's no like set process. There's no soliciting of applications. There's no. I mean, it's sort of whatever procedures you want. I mean, my understanding is you've had several people reach out that may be interested, in that position.
We've had 3 letters, requests, I guess, for consideration, and then over the weekend I had an individual talking about it too that I gotta run by each of you, but.
So, his letter was the 8th, I believe, right?
Right.
So, we have to say if we want to say we're going to, fill the position by,
It has to be filled by November 17th.
right, but we have to publish, we're gonna fill it by, let's just say we're gonna fill it by appointment. We gotta publish a
You have to,
notice.
we have to publish notice of intent to fill vacancy.
Right.
And I'll help you with the wording, but that's really what the first step is. And then.
Is that 4 and 20, or what is that? How long we gotta?
Yeah. It's the same publication requirements as we would have for setting a public hearing, so.
I kind of like the timeline you put in your email, Matt, that you said that, let's see. If we wanted to set an effective date of October 8th, you said we publish a notice on October 4th and fill the vacancy on October 12th.
You could do that, yes, we've got time to do that. If you wanted to set we'd have to publish, it's sort of like we're gonna have to publish, any, wanna get rid of property, I mean, anything we have to do, set in a public hearing. So if we set it for where we at today, all right, 21st, so what's 2 weeks is the 4th?
a Monday. Monday is a
The
4th.
5th, the 5th. It's just FYI, I'm out of town that day, but I don't have to be here for that regardless. But you'd have your, you could fill it then and then have it take place the next week. I mean, honestly, you probably could, I'm trying to think, there is once you make the appointment, there is a 14-day clock that starts ticking where the voters could ask for a special election. Like I said, I consider the likelihood that happens to be somewhere between 0 and 1%, just because it's tough enough to get 100 signatures on petitions to run for office. I can't imagine what it would be like to get 4,500. But regardless,
If they ask, who would be responsible for the petition?
anyway, I mean, it's, Matt Wilbur could petition it. I mean, as long as somebody submits 4,500 signatures that says that they want a special election. I mean, my understanding is that cost north is 6 figures, so I highly doubt that there will be a big outcry with 1 year to go. I mean, the deadline, right, for, applying to run for the job is March, right? That's to get on the primary list, so.
We can push for a special election. That
You
is
can
an
do it
option
on
for
your
us.
own.
But-
I understand.
But I was also.
The
talking-
cost.
Well, beyond cost, it's the fact that there's other elections going on right now that I don't think we can, it's gonna be very difficult to staff something like that. It'd be next to impossible.
It's important that March date, because this position does hit the ballot next year with a nomination petition ending in, I don't know, March 30th or whatever it is. So I kind of like this timeline if the board wants to move forward with it. We know when Mark's last day is. If it's okay with the board, I would like to see us move forward and publish a notice that we're going to fill the vacancy on the October 12th board meeting.
I'm good with that.
Okay.
Do you put that public notice together, man?
I'll do it. I'll work with Andrew to make sure we get the wording right.
You're awesome.
I think we need to, just as a board, as a county, we need to do something to recognize Mark, publicly, what he's done too. 'Cause I mean, he did a lot over there in that office. I don't think a lot of people realize he did. Deserves credit for that.
That would be accurate. Is it?
I don't know that
I'll make that a motion, is that?
I don't think you need to. I mean, that's just something we just put on the agenda, just like we would any, I guess if you want to say set the date, that's fine, but.
Come in or not.
I don't know, went to Zoom in or something.
All right, we'll move forward with that. That sounds awesome. All right.
Okay, unless you find something else different, then you'll let us know. Okay.
Sure, it seems pretty clear to me on the code, so.
If the publications of the public notice don't work out for the 12th, we'll just make it the week following.
Sure, it's not, I don't anticipate, that's plenty of time. It's not. There's no worries.
Okay.
I mean, we're almost October.
Okay, next up, we have discussion and or decision on plans and funding for tiny homes for veterans project.
Yeah, I can kind of take the lead on the conversation here. So, we've been kind of talking about doing something like this for several years really, and it just hasn't really grown legs. And I think now we're in a position where, especially given everything that's happened with COVID, and we've got new monies coming in, we've fixed our budget, we've done urban renewal stuff. I think we're in a position where we might be able to tackle this issue. And I think every one of us up here at some point has wanted to address the issue of homelessness. And I think when we look at the veterans community, that there's opportunity there where there's funding streams that can come down from the VA, there's funding streams that come from our local partners, that we can make this a reality and at least tackle a segment of the population that's homeless here in our county and obviously regionally. So one of the ideas that we have, we've talked about at the Veterans Commission, and Nick, you can chime in whenever, but there's a piece of property that the county owns just south of our jail. It was bought some years ago, and I think there was an idea of putting, maybe emergency management there or something, and it didn't pan out. It is kind of a little bit of a wetland there. I think we just used it for, like, rent it out to a farmer to use. But that property is ideal for a couple reasons. It is right close to a grocery store across the street. There is a clinic even across the street. There's bus routes that go over there. It's close to where there are other homeless and, you know, the Lincoln campus, for example. So there'd be opportunities to get wraparound services, food pantry, all those fun things. So there's gonna be a conversation next week with the city to see if the city would allow us to do this, if it's something that, you know, what the minimum specifications would need to be, you know, things like that. We're gonna meet with Brandon Garrett, and I think he's bringing some folks over as well, just to kind of get an idea, like, could we do it here? Is it possible? But the ask that I really have of the board today is to consider allowing us to make a line item in our budget for it. I'm not asking for the money today. I think it'd be best for us to go and look at our capital plan and see, you know, talk to the city and then kind of figure out, okay, what kind of seed costs do we have to get this thing moving? And then kind of revisit the budget piece of that later. But really what I want to get from the board is a nod saying that, yes, we support this project. Yes, we want to try to make this happen in Potawatomi County. That way I can start getting all the partners involved. When I say I, we get the partners involved. I'm sorry. What's that?
I will nod that, yes.
Who do you think the best person or best group is to put together the plan for this? Does it need to come from the VA?
I think the Veterans Commission should ultimately take the plan over per the direction of the board at first. I mean, I think there was gonna become a time where the board should hand it off to the Veterans Commission to manage. I think we need to be, maybe it sounds super selfish when I say this, but I think we need to be involved, you know, every step of this getting it going.
I do too. Nobody up here has built one of these before.
No.
Or even, I've never even visited one. I mean, I've done my homework, I've looked them up online and that kind of thing, and just like to have a plan put together on, I mean, your first step, I think meeting with the city is the right one. Making sure that that piece of land's even available for something like that. And if it isn't, then we need to start looking for something else. But then where do we go from there? I mean,
I think we formulate I think we need to create a formal committee to say, this is the committee to get this project going from the county's perspective. I think there's gonna be a lot of other partners out there that need involved. I envision this in my head to run it similar to the way we ran, you know, when I say we, I'm talking about the nonprofit sector, when we ran the Dream Playground, where we had a lot of community partners involved. We created kind of a committee, a core committee that made decisions. I think the difference here is the board gets to make the final decisions on things. But, you know, we've got community partners. I've had conversations with Iowa Western. There's interest there potentially that if we can find a way to fund it, that they will build these facilities for us. I think we as a county would need to lay in the infrastructure on these sites, and then we could get them to do the building. They are portable. I think we model it after some of the other communities out there that make it so that, you know, if we can so I'll just give you the high level concept. I mean, the idea is that if you can take a veteran off the street and get them into stable housing, that they are, you know, name your percentage, higher likely to reintegrate back in the community versus just the average homeless person. And the reason why is because the VA has structured services that are able to help them get back into the mindset of getting back to work, getting back into a lifestyle that is healthy, you know, getting the services they need. A lot of these folks that are homeless are suffering from mental health issues that they have not sought treatment for. And I think there's pride issues there. There's a lot of things that go into why. You know, there's obviously substance abuse issues that we got to deal with, things like that. But I mean, at the end of the day, if you get them into stable housing, they're so much more likely to reintegrate in the community. And I think we can get these folks to, some of them have jobs, you know, we may be able to charge rent for some of these folks. Some of them will qualify for the HUD VASH program out there, where we'll draw in money from the federal government to basically allow them to live in this facility, which will help us have an ROI on this. We could look at programs, and I think, I was talking with Mitch before, there might be opportunity where we charge a certain amount of rent, and then after so many years, that actually helps them with a down payment to move this tiny home to another community. There are other communities that are interested in being involved. I've kind of had some outside conversations with folks in Oakland, Iowa. I think there's interest all over our county to do this. But I think to get going, we need to do it closer to where the services are provided. I think that's the safest route for us. If this fails, let's just hypothetically say we built all these nice, cool little tiny homes and we just didn't get veterans to live in there. There is a possibility that we could either sell these little facilities out because they would meet the minimum specs for the city and county, or we could potentially turn it into like a little area where we have rental facilities like we do at our parks. And it being next to Big Lake, it could be an opportunity for the city down the road or something. But there's a million ways to do this. Everyone has good ideas. I just think we need to create a line item budget, and then I want us to start moving forward with a committee to kind of get things moving in the right direction, and then, execute. Go ahead.
Have you visited the one in Kansas City, Kansas?
I have not visited Kansas City, Kansas. We were invited to do so. Mitch had an invitation over the weekend while he was at a wedding. I think we need to take advantage of that. I have visited the one in Denver, Colorado, which was set up to be strictly, not strictly, but it's set up for regular homeless population, not veterans. But same concepts, same ideas.
Are those a portable unit or are they?
Yeah, they're on skids, and so the ones in Denver actually build up on these big blocks, and so they use a crane, they set them on the block, and then they have water and sewer and all these hookups that go into them. I think the one in Denver, if I remember right, it has it all feeds into one kind of unit, and it pumps that back into the city's main system.
Do you know the location of the one in Kansas City?
I don't know exactly where it's at, I just said I ran into it.
Do you mind pulling that up? Can you pull that up on the map so we can show everyone what we're talking about? Again, I don't know if this is possible. I'm very hopeful that there's a way to make this property work. Again, it's gonna be subject to, some of the city code and whether or not the city even wants it there. We need to be cognizant of their goals too.
I think we're gonna presenter over there.
Yeah.
Presenter.
I'd like to go look at that.
Yeah, they're all over. Matt found some other ones too out there. Did you get it? Go to Joe. There you go.
While you're pulling that out, just some statistics I looked up. So less than 1% of the population serves in the military is considered veterans. But if you look at the veteran numbers in the homeless population in the country, that's 8% is what they guess to be veterans. So that's kind of high numbers in that. So, and we just, based off of New Visions and just people that come through our office and people I talk to at the VA, we kind of guesstimate 40 veterans in this area that are homeless right now. So building a facility like this would alleviate some of the pressure on New Visions itself, which would offer more services for them.
But they don't have 40 down there at their place?
Well, no, not typically, because a lot of veterans don't want to live in that community, like sharing a room with, 50 dudes. That's part of what their problem is, they want to isolate themselves a little bit. But.
We were down talking to Bob, and I think Bob and New Visions threw out the number. He has about 24 individuals down there that identify as veterans.
But you would develop some criteria for the people in these tiny homes, right, Nick?
Yeah, we would.
Not all of those people would qualify.
No.
Would that be accurate?
They would probably have, number one, they gotta meet the veteran's qualification to be considered a veteran, so they've had to serve a certain amount of time. But then I think that's where we put extra layers on there to protect ourselves. When I say we, I think the Veterans Commission should be the one that vet those candidates, and then we get them in there, because what we don't wanna do is just stick a veteran in there that's using, for example, and just have them continue to use and not reintegrate. That's the whole concept. So I think we need to be careful about some of the folks that we select. Now, obviously, we've got to be non-discriminatory and legally, obviously, but I think there's ways to. So this is the property we're looking at, everyone. So here's the county jail. County owns this, I think we even own.
We own that too.
We own that swamp, yeah.
So, Justin Schultz's opinion, I think that we should look at creating a road off 15th Street to enter this facility. I think we should have one that enters off here on the Big Lake Road as well. So, I would envision if this is the location we're able to get, if the city says, yeah, go for it. I think we do phases. I think we start off with a smaller number of homes, get veterans in there, make sure this thing's working. And then as it progresses, then we just add phases onto it, add more veterans down the line. So I think we start on the north side and then just kind of work our way south. It gives you easy access. Obviously Walmart's here. They're in this plaza here, there's, other services that veterans might use. I mean, there's a clinic there. I think there's some other. What's that?
In the D&B there.
Yeah, I mean, there's other things there, but the most important thing, I think, is that there's bus stop. So it has the ability that they can be mobile if they don't already have vehicles, things like that. I think this is a huge opportunity, and if we can target these folks, I think it'll work. We all complain about the homeless population in this community, obviously. I think this is one way that we can get things moving in the right direction, at least. If this model works, if this works for veterans, maybe we can adopt this model into the regular general homeless population and start, reintegrating some of those folks too. But I think otherwise this property is going to continue to be used the way it is, and I don't know what else we'd do with it. And I like the proximity to Big Lake.
It's being used a little bit as a homeless camp right now, because they just did another, I believe Jason was in yesterday talking to me, they just did another eviction on a person on that, somewhere on that chunk of ground in between 16th and 15th, I believe.
Yeah, they're on that south end.
In those trees
The
there.
county's gonna have to pay for some tree work to clean it out to hopefully keep them out of there, but, the more people we get living in structures down that way, then it should help keep out the
Yeah, at one point in time, we
campers.
looked at doing some economic development there, and I know we had some preliminary stuff done to tell us how we could get to that point. We just had to track that down and figure out, because I think there was kind of an idea of what a cost would be just to get the water fixed. There was a drainage issue there, and I think some of that stuff's already been addressed by the city in Big Lake already, so we may be able to tie into that if this property works out for us. But anyway,
Well, I'm in favor of moving forward. I think you've got things set up fairly decent with the first step meeting with the city to see what kind of requests they're gonna have if we do something like that. I think we're moving in the right direction. I say let's just keep the plan going, and in the meantime, I think that I agree with you. We ought to set another meeting and have a conversation on our capital plan and kind of see where things are at.
yeah, we haven't looked at it in a long time. It's been almost a year, I think, since we've even looked at that capital plan. We may need to do some updates to it to see where we are financially.
Yep.
But I think having those conversations with the city will tell us what we could expect for costs to do it here anyway. And
Justin, does the sheriff's office sewer run down 15th Street? Maybe you'd know that.
I'm not sure.
No,
I'm guessing. It does.
I would think it would.
So the day-to-day, just thinking out loud, I guess, in a sense, the day-to-day operations would be a responsibility of Nick's organization?
I think so for now, unless we can get a nonprofit to do it down the road that's viable.
Is that what most of them have, a nonprofit?
Yeah, so like Kansas City, I think actually has a city person that they have like I don't know if we can go to that website, Mitch, you might be able to Google it. It's Victory Homes or something like that. Type in Kansas City tiny homes veterans.
I think, you're thinking outside the box. I think we put that right on Nick's shoulders to handle the vetting of the vets and the operation.
He's gonna have to have, what's it called? I think it's the Veterans Community Project. Maybe that's it, community, try that one. Yeah, this is it. And then, I might just have to navigate through here a little bit.
Is that the one in Kansas City?
Yep, this is the one that we got.
One I
Right.
looked at.
So see that building right there that these folks are standing behind that? So that they use that kind of like a day room. So there's a place where folks, not each of these are gonna be outfitted with cable TV and all this stuff, right? So they have a community room that they can all go to and, you know, watch sports or whatever. But then also they have offices in there from the, I think it's a nonprofit that runs it, and then they have a city component to it. There should be a video, Mitch, you might be able to play somewhere. I have to go back to the main page. I know there's a video that we can. There you go. So here's a.
There's an overview anyway.
Yeah. So there's kind of ideally what it would look like. Does that tick? There you go. So that's theirs. I don't think ours has to be set up exactly like that, but we have a lot more space than they had. So on the other side of this, in their town, is like neighborhoods on other sides. I think for us,
Those one buildings on the back over there almost look like they're apartment type.
yeah, there might be some townhomes there or something maybe. But you get the idea. I mean, these ones are a bit smaller than I think what we'll be required to build. I think our requirements, even for the county, are larger than theirs there. So
Really?
yeah. A minimum, well, there you go. It says down there above. Minimum for us in the county is 240. I think the city may have a little bit higher requirement there, but you know, that's okay. We got the space for it. So.
Yeah, our minimum will be 270.
Yeah. But I mean, I
Be a
think.
neat community volunteer thing too.
Yeah, and the community attraction of this is pretty high. You know, I did a little subtle Facebook thing this morning just to see, you know, and it's all morning long. I've been getting messages and people from the community saying, hey, we're on, let us help. I got 2 nonprofits already said they're on board, let's do this, you know, ones that have money. So, I mean, I think it's this is gonna be a huge opportunity for us, and I think it's gonna start addressing some of those issues that thinking outside the box. So, I mean, I guess I'm just asking if we can get the line item at least in our gaming. We don't have to put the money there today, or I just want to get that piece taken care of today is what I'm asking. So we'd have to do that later. So.
Well, it's a placeholder in the line item, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
I mean, I guess I'm making the ask, I'll make the motion that we do it. Someone wants to second it. So my motion basically is just asking that we create a line item in our budget for.
I'll second that.
The tiny homes for homeless veterans. And I also think we need to come up with a better name as well. It doesn't have stigma attached to it, but we can deal with that later.
Okay.
Okay, we got a motion by Schultz and a second by Shea to put a placeholder in the budget for Veterans Project.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, that committee's meeting next Wednesday at 2 o'clock. So if any of you board members want to attend, other than Tim and I, obviously we're on the list already, please let Andrew know so we can post it.
Where's it at?
It's gonna be in here. So, no big deal, you're more than welcome, everyone's welcome to come. I'm just telling you, we initially started out with the 2 people kind of having a conversation, so. Yeah, go from there.
Where's
Thank
that
you.
line item coming out of?
Gaming.
Gaming?
Yep, gaming. And if not, blame Mitch, because that's what Mitch suggested.
Okay.
We vote on that?
No, I'm gonna call for the vote right now. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign.
I'll make a motion to go closed session.
One other thing before we do that, I think, there's something in that for housing in that ARPA money too.
There might be, I don't know.
I think-
HUD has money for this as well, we should look at least they did at one point, so.